In 2015, the Conservatives set out to deliver a truly 7-day NHS in their election manifesto. This was clarified further, resulting in a goal that anyone be able to see their GP any day of the week during normal working hours, and hospitals be adequately staffed for the quality of care to be the same no matter what day of the week. The initial research that triggered this move from the Conservatives was performed by Nick Fremantle and others in 2012 and reinforced by further work in 2015. They found that patients admitted to the NHS on Saturdays and Sundays had an increased risk of death within the next 30 days of 10 and 15% respectively. There was also a smaller increased risk on Mondays and Fridays. They concluded that around 11,000 more patients die each year if admitted on the weekend as opposed to those admitted during the week. Allowing for adjustment that patients admitted during the weekend are more sick, this increased risk diminishes but is still present. The BMJ, having weighed up the evidence, concluded that there was indeed a verifiably increased risk for those admitted on the weekend, but they decried the Conservatives' decision to move on the research before some was published and before time had been given to understand whether understaffing was the cause of the increased mortality. To quickly summarise some of the research that shows notable excess deaths, in 2010, Imperial College found 3,400 excess deaths associated with emergency admissions to NHS hospitals in England during the weekend between 2005 and 2006. In 2012, Nick Fremantle's group published their research, and in 2015, University of Manchester researchers found either 4,400 or 5,400 excess deaths between 2010 and 2011. This may make it seem like the move to a 7-day NHS was logical. You must remember that excess deaths are not preventable deaths. As the 2012 researchers themselves recently said when updating their work, it is not possible to ascertain the extent to which excess deaths are preventable. To assume they are avoidable would be rash and misleading. Some of the excess deaths may be caused by poor care, but we simply don't know how many yet. Recently, researchers led by Dr. Yen-Fu Chen found that sicker patients on the weekends are the cause of more of the excess deaths than was previously believed. We must also consider that if the excess deaths are caused by understaffing, and it is that simple, then we cannot just increase staffing on the weekends with no trade-off. There are a limited workforce who are provided salaries and budget from a limited pool of funds. Increasing staffing on the weekend will necessarily lower staffing during the rest of the week, potentially resulting in a lower standard of care at other times. The NHS works to balance its care based on the quality of life improvements it can deliver to its patients and how long its patients will live to enjoy that improved quality of life. The NHS sought to make the following changes by 2020. Routine general practice access at the weekends and in the evenings, 24/7 access to healthcare advice via NHS 111, and quality hospital care provided to 100% of the population with the same level of access to consultant assessment, review, and diagnostic tests on any day of the week. What do you know about the 7-day NHS? Do you think the government was right to work towards a 7-day NHS? What problems are there in trying to maintain the same level of staffing at the weekend as during the week? Why do you think being able to see your GP in the evening or at the weekend is so important to many people? Do you believe that doctors thought a 7-day NHS was in the best interests of their patients? When answering, remember to consider both sides of the debate and refer to the difficulty of making conclusions on the research for this topic. Due to the relatively low number of deaths being assessed and the inherent difficulties of conducting research in this area, only large trusts have been able to provide sufficient data to work off. Remember to explain that you believe decisions should be based on published evidence and in the best interests of the patients, but that a demoralised workforce, or one that is overworked, is a risk to patients as well. You can readily link this topic to a discussion on evidence-based medicine, on whether doctors should be able to strike, research the junior doctors' strikes, and on the structure and history of the NHS.